My name's Peter Rose. My wife and I live in Upper Roxborough. I have a daughter, does exhibitions for museums. I am an avid mountain biker, occasional meat eater, but not much, a devout atheist. I play drums occasionally, and I like to be outdoors a lot. I'm a professor of film at the University of the Arts, and I've been working in film and video since 1968.
Peter Rose has won National Endowment of the Arts Awards, Pennsylvania Council on the Arts grants, a Guggenheim, as well as a Pew Fellowship, and he has been included in the Whitney Biennial. His work has been collected by such museums as the Philadelphia Museum of Art and the Pompidou Center in Paris. His films have been screened in prestigious festivals around the world. But what exactly does he do?
And I'm always very hesitant to even try and explain what video art is. It's not like a regular film. You're not going to see stories. Video art is presenting you with an experience that's not about something, it is something. Actually, I first studied mathematics, and I got to a point where I could no longer understand what it was I was proving. It had become so abstract that I had lost touch with it, and then went to a series of lectures at the Museum of Modern Art by Slavko Vorkapic, and he talked about all the interesting ways in which film played with time and space. And I thought, hey, you could do things with time and space that were visible and tangible. It'd be much more interesting than abstract math. And I began making films that played with ways of seeing the world that were informed by mathematical thinking. Some of my recent work's been very much about light. I have a whole body of work which invents languages and presents the viewer with contradictory experiences of language. Say some of my inspirations have been people like Ernie Kovacs and Sid Caesar and early Woody Allen, Saul Steinberg, and these people who do neat things with language. My work has had an interest in landscape and in visual structure on one hand, and in language and in the ways that we understand the world through thinking on the other hand. People have talked about the three aspects of art, the heart, the mind, and the hand, and I think that's an interesting way of approaching my work. Certainly there's a lot of mind in my work. I'm interested in the consciousness, I'm interested in the way we think about the world. My work is very conceptual, but I often find that that's not quite enough. I want work to have an emotional component, to have some sense of tragedy or even comedy. And quite often my soundtracks, I think, take things into a much more emotional direction. Sounds very important to me. The emotional element, I think, in a lot of film and video comes from the soundtrack. So I spend a lot of time working on sound and trying to shape the emotional arc of my work. Most of my soundtracks come from recordings I've made. I have a little portable sound recording device, and I just carry it around. If I hear a thrush out in the forest, I record that. I have about 400 sounds that I've recorded over the last couple of years, and I play with them. I slow them down, and I layer them, and I orchestrate them into a kind of musique concrète. So most of my soundtracks I'm making out of very ordinary ambient sounds that have been transformed and turned into something hopefully kind of mysterious and magical and dramatic and arresting. And then I'm also interested in technology, and recently in reintroducing the hand or the gesture into the work. I think in some ways we're losing the sense of the body. We become virtual creatures. So a lot of my recent work has been about trying to find a way of moving with the camera that has a visceral implication, so that, ultimately there's some kind of synthesis between concept, affect, and physical performance.
I sure think he's succeeding, but don't take my word for it. The Gipper is in full agreement with me.
But, video que tu nous